All right. It looks like we have everyone. So I am going to. Well, no, actually, Vonda is.
What?
You have to call the meeting to order, right?
I certainly will call this meeting to order at 4:32 p.m.
All right.
Until you appoint a chair. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And your first order of business would be to attendance, which I see Joy Greenstein, Stephanie Sikora, Wendy Youngblood, and invited guest Eric Conklin, and myself. Online for public comment, for the record, we see Mark Morash and Aaron Scalera.
Okay.
Okay. And then
should be election of officers.
Yep. First item would be obviously to elect a chairperson of the subcommittee. And then once that's done, that person will take over the meeting. And because this is virtual, it would be most helpful for record keeping if when you made your nominations and motions, if you stated your name, that would be great. Do we have a nomination for chair?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Stephanie Sikora to be chair.
Okay.
This is Wendy Youngblood, sorry.
Wendy, thank you. Before we do any seconds, do we have any other nominations for chair? No. Okay. Any second for Stephanie for chair?
I'll second.
Thank you, Joy. Any other nominations? So we would close nominations, obviously, but any other nominations? If not, then we have all in favor of Stephanie as chair. Please state your name.
Wendy says aye.
Joy, aye.
Stephanie, aye.
Okay, so it is a unanimous vote for Stephanie Sikora for chair.
Thank you.
And Stephanie, the meeting is now yours.
Thank you. I promise I will do as I've been doing. Forgive me, I'm recovering, so my voice is a little much to be desired. Okay, so we will start first with public comment. For either of our public attendees here for public comment. If you could raise your hand. Okay.
I'm good right now.
Thanks, Erin. All right, Mark, go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Morash. Sorry, forgive me. Okay, let me toggle back to our agenda. Okay, so approval of the minutes. I move to approve the policy minutes from 11/19/2025.
So before Mark was going to bring that up, I was actually going to bring that up because since we just got the email from Lisa an hour ago, I sat down right away and read everything. Or 2 hours ago, whatever it was, the minutes. I'm really not comfortable with that being stated. I believe that was Vonda's recommendation, considering that she's leaving and we're getting a new superintendent. I'd like a new superintendent to weigh in on that. And it's really our obligation to, when crafting policy, we have to refer to the regulation, and for us to not even look at it or approve it, I'm really not comfortable with that, especially in this adjustment period for sure, with changing of leadership. I'm really not comfortable with us not, as a policy-making board and committee, not seeing regulations if we're using that to help us craft our own Brookfield policies.
Stephanie, can I ask a clarifying question?
Yep.
Will you, so I hear what you're saying about, your reluctance to move forward with kind of steps about the language that governs policy when we're in a transition period. But we don't use regulations to write policy. Like we have policies, and then we specifically give our district leaders license to write the regulation. And I think that that's appropriate. They're the on the ground people. But I do want to go back. What Mr. Morash said, I do want to go back and read those policies again. But it's been my understanding that, it's that the I don't know. I guess I want to talk this through more about, do we need to approve regulations, and if those are currently in our bylaws, because I haven't read those bylaws in a while. Is that hamstringing our administrators from doing what they need to do?
But typically, we've always looked at policy and regulation side by side. Also, it was a recommendation of CABE that they don't understand why we wouldn't do that. So it's their guidance and their recommendation to absolutely be looking at regulation and having it go through us. So I don't know why we would go against that. And we seek CABE's advice. We have CABE coming in to train us. And
no, I understand that.
So I don't know why we would then go against what they're saying. And I'm just not comfortable with that saying that the statement, where is it in the minutes?
I can remove it. That's fine. You want to make a motion to amend the minutes, and we can further that discussion at a different time?
Yeah, it says, as previously discussed, the board will no longer review or approve regulations.
All right,
I
let's
think
keep
it's
that up.
fine saying Mr. Conklin wanted just to know that there are regulations that will be changing and deleted as an FYI to the committee. But I would think that any, obviously, changes he makes, that's why he's here, right? He's bringing it to us.
Okay, so I'm going to amend the minutes from 11/19 to remove. We will. Okay. To be reviewed at a later date by the policy committee.
I'll second.
All those in favor of removing that line from, or amending the minutes to remove that line, say aye. Aye.
All right, I'll go with aye as well.
Okay, so Wendy, Joy, and Stephanie are yes to remove that. All we're doing is removing that line to have a discussion further. So then let's vote on the original motion, now I move to approve the amended minutes from 11/19. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second that. This is Wendy.
Move to approve amended minutes. Wendy second. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Stephanie, Wendy, and Joy, all three are aye?
Yes.
Okay, great. Approval from meeting. Just want to make sure I take accurate notes, so give me just a sec. Okay. All right, great. With that, we will welcome Eric Conklin, Director of Technology. Thank you for being with us, Eric. So the purpose of this, we've, as previous policy committee, have received these policies. Wendy, you were forwarded them today.
Yeah, I read them. I didn't finish the last one.
That's okay. We haven't had a chance to talk with Eric directly about them. So this is just an opportunity before we present them to the board so that we can get a full understanding and ask any of our questions. Eric, if you could tell us a little bit about, you had decided on this as the tech policy, and how, like, I know you had decided between the CABE versus Shipman and Goodwin, and kind of give us a little backstory on that situation. That would be great.
Yeah, and so, and I do want to note as well, we've got a little committee, a little group in the district that work together on what, you know, the future of the one-to-one program is going to look like, including principals, many members of my, actually, most of the members of my team, as well as Vonda, Deb, Casey. So there's been a collective group that has done a lot of work with these policies, but I spearheaded kind of the draft of them with everybody. So I'll just start in the order that is on the agenda here. 5131.81. It is marked as computers acceptable use of the internet, but it is actually, I mean, that is, but let me pull it up. I'm trying to work between. It is actually more related to personal technology use in school. That's the actual title of it. Personal, you know, cellular phones and personal electronic devices. This is a policy that did not exist previously. This one was derived and chosen from CABE. Shipman did not have one for us on this. So this was taken from CABE and edited a little bit. The edits were primarily to also include personal electronic devices. It was just a wording change from electronic devices to personal electronic devices, but it primarily focuses on cell phones. And this policy, you know, when it was introduced to you, again, like I said, did not exist before, and is new and has been looked at ever since we went to the new cell phone policy over at the high school in Wisconsin with pouches and all that. And basically this says that personal devices and cell phones are not to be used during instructional time only. So the time that they're sitting in front of a classroom, in a classroom, in a desk in front of a teacher with instruction. This does not tell them that they cannot bring devices to school. This does not say that they can't use them outside of classroom time. So, and there's some conversation, there's a topic in there about, you know, discretion of the principal, but basically it says, you know, during passing, lunchtime, study hall, before and after school, students can use those personal devices, but that they are to be put away and not used during instructional time when they should be focusing on instruction. And that is the gist of this policy. Then I can answer questions after, and then I will move on to search and seizure. This one is not completely my domain, but it came up in some previous conversation, as well as some written correspondence regarding including electronic devices in it. So what that did is that warranted me to look it up with the group and realized I believe the last version of this was from the mid 2000s. I have to go back to the website and double check that. And so I thought this was a good opportunity while we were here to represent it and make it a 2025 policy while we're on the subject of technology use in devices in schools and search and seizure. Again, there was a number of different versions of this. This one mostly aligns with the one that we currently have. It just updates some of the terminology that was in the previous one. Get into the detail of that. And then the 6141.323, which is internet acceptable use filtering. We did have this one previously. It is a current policy within the district. However, it was a little bit dated, and what it did not include was changes that we've made over time, such as the addition of securely for filtering of Chromebooks in and out of the district. So the last time this policy was looked at, we were only filtering student devices, district-owned student devices. We were only filtering in the district, and now with securely, we filter district-owned devices anywhere that they go, any internet, any network they're connected to all over the world. We now filter, and basically a student's access to their Chromebook outside of the district looks just like it does when they're in the district. They can't access the same websites and all that stuff. So basically the idea of updating this policy while we were at it was to just basically reflect that the filtering happens anywhere, not just in the walls of the schools that we are in. And then finally, 6141.321 is the regulation. It is the updated version of the one-to-one policy. This is the same policy we have parents sign and students sign every single year. I can certainly provide the current ones, which are actually up on the website right now, and basically talk about the the $50 non-refundable fee and the insurance policy. And this one updates to include language about providing a device to every single student. And because of all the discussion in the board meetings and the budget meetings that we're going to have already had and we're going to be having regarding the changes to the one-to-one program, I obviously certainly wanted to share this because this is all part of it. This speaks out to what the program is going to look like going forward.
Eric, before I forget,
Yep.
I noticed, I'm trying to look back because I read them, I was reading them all last hour, but they have to provide a case for it, correct?
Yeah.
As an acceptable case.
Yeah, that is something I think I took that language out. That actually
in the sign off and the parent student permission form sign off.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I thought I took that one out.
Are we providing?
I will protect the school by keeping it in an approved protective case at all times. So that is something I want to look into for this year. I will adjust that language accordingly, but that actually is a discussion that just came up literally last week among my department, was if that we're going to be handing devices to students, and they'll be responsible for the physical part of the device. Obviously, if we talk about anything, a technical issue, a glitch, a software failure, all that is covered by us. But the accidental damage, it drops and anything intentional, is not covered. But, given that we are providing the device, and many other school districts do this as well, they provide a case with it as well. I would like to, if so long as it falls within the budget of Chromebooks, I do intend to look at cases, and if we buy them in bulk, we should get them for a very good price. But you're welcome to use device cases that they have if they would like. But I will update the language accordingly because, like I said, I don't have that answer right now as to whether or not we're going to provide cases, but it did come up recently, and I do think we should head in that direction.
Okay, because I just think that's definitely something that should be communicated.
Yes.
To parents, because that's another added expense, and like approved with that word approved, right? Like, I know I have a soft case on mine. Like, is that an approved one? Or is
Yeah. Yeah, and that language remained. That language there remained from the iPads. The iPads had a little more, it was a little stricter, right? Just because of the iPads being a little more fragile in nature, approved cases. But there's a lot more flexibility with clamshell Chromebooks. Any laptop case that has the padding. I mean, even backpacks now. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of our students have backpacks with that padded sleeve in them. I have one.
Yeah.
The padded sleeve, if when they're carrying the Chromebook, if it's inside that little padded sleeve inside their backpack, that's approved. That's fine. That's adding a protective layer in the backpack. So I will work on that language with the group. And yes, that will absolutely be communicated as part of the program. So I'm writing that down right now.
Okay, that's good to know too, because a lot of the backpacks have that already.
Yeah.
I know Mason's does, so.
Yeah, I look for them when I buy backpacks because it's just easy. Like I use them when I travel or anything like that. You just throw it in. You don't have to worry about it.
And which is that in the policy?
That's in the regulation, very last page.
Okay.
So it's actually written into the current regulation now.
Right.
It's up on the website. So that language would have to be, no matter what direction we take, that language will have to be updated.
Okay.
Can I? Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, speaking of updating language, there was a typo or an error in, I think, I can't remember if it's, so this is 6141. This is the one we're talking about.
Okay.
And I think it's the first paragraph, maybe on the second page, and the language is a little bit confusing. I think you have an extra verb. It's must. Like, I think that one has to come out. But I closed that document, and so I can't find it now. So it's the fifth line down, I think on the second page.
So there's networking. If the school issued device is not fully functioning or has any damage, students must pay.
So this is about signing the release form or whatever. It's where you start to talk about parents and student must sign, and I think you were combining two sentences, and there's just an added word in there.
Oh, yes, it's on the first page. High school students who have previously purchased a device upfront for $200 one-time fee will only be required to have parents and students must sign. I just left the word must in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll fix that.
Yeah, I know it sounds nitpicky, but when I'm right into a place there, I think it's good to identify it. Yeah, this one looked good to me.
Eric, on page 5.
Okay.
So the equipment insurance fee, the damaged part repairs cost.
Yeah.
So I know, my son included, but a lot of students have the older, they've had them for a while. At what point do the damages occur because of overuse? You know what I mean?
Right. So, yeah.
I'll give you an example. Mason's trackpad doesn't work. It doesn't mean it's not because he dropped it or anything like that. It just doesn't work anymore. He uses a mouse. Plugs in the little attachment and uses the mouse. But
yeah. So
because it's been overused.
Yeah, and so a broken trackpad. We see these. We buy the replacement trackpad and all that. So in the case of it just stopping functioning, unless we saw a major crack on it and started to have that conversation, something like Mason could take that Chromebook to Mrs. Calavito and get that replaced at no cost. It is. The techs are very experienced in this. It is very easy to tell when it's overuse and when it's physical damage, believe it or not. Obviously the keyboards, right? The letters wear out. So we're not going to charge a student for a Chromebook when a keyboard when the letters wore out. You could just tell they typed a lot. Hand lotions and different chemicals just wear those out over time. We're not gonna break those. If Mason's Chromebook, let's just use them as an example. He came and said my trackpad doesn't work, and we looked at the case and it had a huge separation in it because it broke open. Okay, then maybe it broke because of damage, but we could Mrs. Calavito can tell almost immediately, and that would not be held accountable. It's really, it's similar to, I know it's only a year, but Apple, right? If you walk into the Apple store with a cracked screen on your iPad, they're going to go, okay, well, that's not a technical issue. You're not covered under the 1-year warranty, right? But if you walk in, and I did it once where the touch just stopped working and you're under warranty, they're going to replace it at no cost. It's the very same concept. There is, at some point, there is some discretion, but generally, I would say probably about 99% of the time, if not higher than that, it's black and white. It's cut and dry. Obviously it's very easy with an LCD screen. We can tell if the screen is dimming, we can tell the screen just stopped working right. If the screen has the spider webs and you can't read what's on the screen and it's all different colors and it has a little spot where it spiders out, well, that we know you probably jammed a pencil in there or you dropped it or something like that. It's very easy to tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought the language was good in spelling that out, like that you get the insurance covers one fix, one-time fix, and after that, the fee schedule I thought was really user-friendly.
Thank you.
And Eric, I just wanted to clarify or make sure, reiterate that you've gone through all of these with building administration and they've weighed in and they approve, agree, they're on board, right? Is there anything that they, any feedback that they've given you that hasn't been incorporated for any reason?
So I was just about to say, any feedback they gave me has been incorporated accordingly, and discussed, and Vonda can speak to it as well. She was part of it. But what I did was I drafted every single one of these, forwarded everyone off to the group, who took their time to review, and Google Doc style, we put in comments, and then we met one more time, had a discussion. So the board got, this subcommittee got the version that had been seen by everybody in our one-to-one group. So that, again, included our middle school and high school principal, administration here at TSO, as well as members of the technology department. And why I had members of the technology department involved in this is because they are the most intimate with this one-to-one agreement and the day-to-day operations of it, and so they got to see it as well. So they got to say, okay, this is realistic. This is what happens in the schools every day. This is not realistic, or this is what we're seeing every day. We need to change or update accordingly. So, but the group did have a chance to look at it. Yes.
Great. I just wanted to make sure we clarified that. Are there any other questions on this for Eric? Or are there anything else we need clarified? Or
I have a question, and then I need to step away for a quick sec. So about the search and seizure policy.
Yes.
5145. So page 2 at the top, under the desks and lockers section, it says that in terms of giving permission to use like drug sniffing dogs, that lies with, and then it was unclear to me, it says the board and then superintendent. So is it either or? Is that a decision that we make here? Is that a decision the board makes?
I don't have the answer because I have the same questions. That's why I left them the way I left them, as a draft. I don't know if that's a board discussion, an internal discussion. I don't know if it's an everybody discussion. I see Vonda just unmuted, so maybe she has something.
So again, that ultimately could be the board decision. It's often deferred to the superintendent in a timely manner, making a decision. It's an operational piece. So it's there. Some boards decide they don't even allow, drug sniffing dogs. So that's kind of why it's there, as like a trigger to remind you have that ability to decide.
Yeah, and I believe, I'm going to go back and double check. I believe that language is not new compared to our current one. There is a statement about drug sniffing dogs. It just doesn't specify for superintendent, I believe. I'm looking it up now.
I would think that we would need to be able to react building leaders would need to react like right away, and that would be difficult to have that permission only in the hands of the board. Okay, I have to step away for a sec. I will be back.
5145, 12. Good question.
It's also really up to the board to decide about all of those pieces about metal detectors and, you know, wands to screen kids. Those are things that you would talk about first.
Yeah, what did you want to add, Joy? Sorry.
I like doing the raise hand thing too. I just like the noise. Rick, I know I read it. Now I can't find it, but I know Erin brought it up too, but I had read it before. So when kids take pictures and things like after school, like school events, like they're on Instagram all the time, like game day ready and things like that. Like I feel like that there was language in there that said that basically they couldn't do that without permission, or I had to.
So,
I think.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
that is in personal use. So that is in 5131,
Yeah.
and it would be under unauthorized use of devices.
Okay.
And it would be E. Let me see, E. No, F. Under unauthorized use of devices. So page 2.
Yeah.
No. Page 3. Top of page 3, letter F.
Hey, dude. Come on
Use in a manner for paying cell phones and personal devices which have the capability to take photographs or moving pictures shall not be used for purposes while on school property.
in the upper
While sponsored transportation while student is engaged in school sponsored activities.
So are they saying as long as it's not profane?
Yes.
Is that what that
Yes.
is referring to? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, now that you can't use them.
No.
Right. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, I know sometimes it's take pictures of like, I know sometimes it's just even take pictures of like, you know, the football game and post it on Brookfield Athletics Instagram. That's allowed. It's the inappropriate. I think Fonda just covered that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I really apologize for the disruption and for being on the phone. We're just coordinating getting my daughter into the building. But I had the same kind of question, and this keeps coming up where members of the community say, hey, you've got a, prohibition against X behavior. But as Stephanie has pointed out, yes, that's at the discretion of the building leader. How can we make it clearer for people that that some of these regulations or policy provisions are designed to address, emergency situations or like worst case scenario? Like we need to have them on the books, but that doesn't mean that they are like sternly or punitively imposed willy-nilly. Like that seems to be a challenge that we keep facing. Any thoughts?
Good question. Well, I think part of that.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, well, when we expect like a handbook, right, to be followed as Bible, right? Like you read it, and if you have an expectation, right, you write it as you expect. I feel like there shouldn't be gray areas because that's where you get in trouble. When there's speculation, when people are able to speculate, or when administrators are able to speculate.
Yeah, but
Say,
that's
well,
kind of
this
what I was gonna
is
say.
how I interpreted it.
sorry, Stephanie.
No, that's what I was going to say is that I think that then we have to rely on the policy manual, the building regulations, pulling back to the policy, right? So that when we refer to the policy, it's very clear, like Joy was saying, that like policy is the what and the building manual or the policy manual or the regulation is the how.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's consistency, like that's part of what we're trying to do is make sure that these policies that specifically speak to things that are happening within the building are updated and are clear so that they, I know Debbie is working on the continuation of what Casey was working on this summer, which is a district-wide policy manual. So there'll be a lot of consistency, and that's why we want to work to get these up to date. And if you're talking about like once we approve the policy so that people will understand like why that particular policy was on the agenda, I feel like having that discussion more clearly in a board meeting, I think maybe that's the piece that we've been missing. And that was kind of the goal of, you know, the way we want to run policy going forward is like really having, so like bringing these tech policies to the board and having a really robust conversation about, you know, why they've been written this way, why they've been introduced, why we, you know, as a policy committee have supported them written this way, so that there is a clear understanding and that, you know, in public, because that's the meeting most people are paying attention to. And then it could, you know, it's part of the minutes, it could be part of the 3 main points, that kind of thing. Is really the only other way.
I think it's really, really important that we not try to like get hyper specific because we hem in our building leaders. And I hear what you're saying, Joy, about like consistency and predictability and transparency, but also we really need to allow the building leaders and district leaders to use their professional judgment in situations that the context of which will vary. So maybe this is just a tension that's healthy to keep exploring.
Wendy, do you feel like there's anything in these policies, the way that Eric has presented them, that are building restrictive, or are you just talking in general?
Yeah, that's the point. Okay. It's more general. I think that these are the 3 that I was able to read, the first 3, I was okay with all of them now that Eric's answered the questions that we've put forth, and I just haven't finished the 4th one yet.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything specific you wanted to look at in these. So the next question is, do we feel like these are in a place where we can present them to the board as a first read in January and have the discussion about how we want, do we want these questions answered? Do we want Eric, is there anything specific we want, you know, change as a committee, or are we good to put it to the board and have the discussion? I think the discussion about who, like the search and seizure, that should be a board decision. I think the only other question was, or the only other thing we need that Eric was going to clarify the language on was the protection, but that's in the regulations, so we can look at that we would look at that separately.
Yeah, and Stephanie, there's really no I don't want to. There's really no rush to put forward, you know, or discuss. So if for example, if Wendy wants more time to read that one-to-one agreement, and we need some answers on the Chromebook cases, if that one doesn't get to discussion till February, if it ends up going to the board, that's fine.
Okay.
You know, because certainly along with this, but budget's also going to drive to change that program. So if for any reason it didn't move forward on the budget side, we revert back, and so you know, so you might want to leave that one a little more pending for a little while.
That is actually a good point.
Yeah.
The other question I have, Eric, is there was a question we had last time, and I think it was open-ended because I don't have any response to it. What's the storage situation? Like, do we have, you had mentioned they're kind of like all the Chromebooks are being stored in a room, kind of stacked up. Are we budgeting for storage? Is there going to be a different storage solution? Because we're adding, right, like almost 400 Chromebooks.
Yep.
And you said they're kind of piled up. They're stored in a kind of precarious way right now. How are we addressing that?
So no, storage is, and I can certainly get some more information from the techs on it, but I can speak to the high school. During the summer, so what we actually do is in May and June we start collecting paper boxes. We beg and borrow for you know, the WB Mason cases, and those store the Chromebooks very, very nicely, stacked up in alphabetical order. And Kathy, Ms. Calavito, is very organized in that. What the high school does in the summer is they actually give us locked space. They give us a conference room in the library right behind where the board sits.
Oh yeah.
Next to the bathroom there. Mm-hmm. We have that whole room with shelving and tables and all of that stuff. We also have our tech workroom, all of which is locked and inaccessible by most during the summer. Wisconsin gets a little tricky, but we're working with Mr. Renda just due to the amount of office and storage space. But we're working with Mr. Renda on some space. I don't see a need to ask for any funds or anything like that for additional storage. Yes, we're adding 400 more Chromebooks, but we'd be adding Chromebooks no matter what.
Yeah.
And eventually it adds up. But they're certainly not as big as they used to be. So I'm comfortable with the space that we have. So, and we don't need carts because we're not storing them in carts. We're providing them to the students to use, unlike Canterwood Lake, luckily with Canterwood Lake, we got those carts through the construction of the school.
Yeah.
Those carts will be around for a while.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Joy has a question.
Have we explored like a buyout option? If we get like 400 parents to buy them, then we wouldn't have to invest in buying 400 more.
Yeah, so it's similar to kind of the program that we have now. We can certainly explore that. We've done that previously where we had the buyout option for the $200, and then they can keep them. Part of the reason why we kind of went away from that is Chromebooks, when originally kind of sent out and distributed, had an acceptable use policy. An acceptable use lifespan of 5 years. And what happened is people have noticed that the technology inside of Chromebooks, in all the years that they've been around, really has not changed. It's still the same amount of RAM, the same amount of storage space, they're cloud-based devices, all of that stuff. So and Google had noticed the amount of e-waste by us getting rid of these devices every 5 years. So what Google has done is expanded them to 10. Obviously, damages and all that don't take into account. But the idea of not doing the buyout was to have usable devices in the district for longer periods of time. Because if they do the buyout and then take the devices with them, that's up to potentially, let's estimate 200 students per class. That's up to 200 devices that leave the district every year that we have to replenish for the upcoming grade. So the idea was to have the devices stay in the ecosystem to be able to be used by students. But short term, yes, absolutely, Joy. Having parents the option to buy out the device and keep it would certainly offset our costs. So it is not an option we're opposed to, but obviously we propose a change in the model. But I'm certainly open to discussion of continuing with the buyout option, and it has worked for the last couple of years. We just have to be mindful, right? We're not a Best Buy or an Amazon where we don't want to get in the market of being Chromebook salespeople, but it is a pretty good, the buyout option is a pretty good deal for our families, because when they do the buyout, or they say they did the buyout up front, they essentially own the device, whatever, but they still get coverage by us as a school district. They still get technical issues covered. They can still do the insurance policy. They still get the managed Chromebook that we can filter and that they can use for testing and PSATs and SATs now and all of that. So it's certainly something we'd be open to bringing back to the group.
Yes, Wendy.
Quick question, Eric. How many boxes do you need? The Mason boxes.
Oh, I will get back to you. I'll ask Mrs. Calavino. I mean,
the point is, I have access to some. Should I just start to the wagon train to TSO, bringing in a couple of boxes each week?
Sure, okay. We love them.
Because we
use them for anything, and we use them for staff laptops. We use them for Chromebook chargers and all that. So yeah,
because we recycle them in my school. I'm looking at a bunch of them now. So okay, they're great if you ever have to move. We moved all our books in those boxes.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we have decided we're going to wait and see how the budget ends up. We'll revisit this in January to present in February for a first read to the board. If anyone has any questions in the meantime, we can, or any thoughts in the meantime as we read through them again, we can bring those to the January meeting. I'll put these back on in January just so we can revisit them really quick and hopefully recommend them for first read if the budget has kept that initiative in there.
Sounds good.
Eric, for joining us. I really appreciate it. You're welcome to stay if you would like. But we have nothing else on the agenda for policy. I do have communications, budget communications. Vonda, did you have things that you wanted us to help communicate in regards to the budget?
I mean, I put out a communication just the other day, letting the community know that you met and, you know, where we were at, and invited them to try to join us in some of those meetings. So at this point, Casey and I figured we would wait until after the break to see if there were a few things that we could highlight the need for.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Have the meeting, are we having a tri roundtable this year again? We didn't have one last year, where the Board of Finance presents, or sorry, the Board of Ed Finance Subcommittee presents to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance.
Yeah, the Board of Finance declined to attend that one last year. And so we presented just to the selectmen.
I was going to say, I believe it was on the PowerPoint at the end. Let me just check the date.
Did I miss that?
Presentation of the board adopted budget to the Board of Selectmen and Finance. And it just says TBD.
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering. Do we know, is the Finance Subcommittee scheduling that? Or is Rob in charge of scheduling that? Do you know? Does Casey?
That would be something that would go through Rob to start, and then with the finance chair.
Okay. And then how, Wendy, do you remember last year how we communicated those? Did we just?
I think I wrote to Steve, or Steve and I saw each other face to face. And then I think it was brought up, I think I raised that in the finance subcommittee because I was attending those meetings virtually. I think so.
How did we communicate it to the public though? Did we put it on Parent Square? Did we just do a budget blast?
Well, we'll definitely advertise it once if we can get a date set, we'll definitely advertise it.
Yeah.
Through Parent Square. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, we did these thing called budget blasts, which is essentially what you did the other day as a recap.
Yep.
So after every Board of Ed meeting, just put out.
Yep, and you had said that. This particular one, I just tucked into the message of, happy holidays, so they weren't getting.
Yeah, no, that was good. I felt like as a start, there wasn't really anything significant that needed to be pointed out, so I think that was good.
Well, just the fact that it has started and there's a number out there, and yeah. Yep.
Okay, well, if there's anything you need us to do in terms of communicating, you can just let us know. We'll figure out
absolutely
how that should go. Okay. And in communications, I don't know if you guys remember the little graphics and things we put out in the spring of last year. I think some of those were really effective. So we might just, as March comes around, once the budget gets a little more solidified, we can put more of those out. I feel like people got a good snippet glance of. We can talk about that later in the early 2026.
Perfect.
And then that is all I have, unless anyone else has anything else they wanted to bring up. We have a miscellaneous discussion. Wanda, did you have anything else you wanted for us?
I did not.
Okay. Thanks you guys so much. The policy meeting is adjourned at 5:20 p.m. Have a good night. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Bye.